Hey, what's up guys, it's adreN, and I'm going to go over the new nuke changes that happened yesterday. To start off, my first impressions, I like pretty much all the changes. We'll talk about the changes that I'm not very sure of at the end, but I'm definitely welcoming all the changes possible to nuke because, let's be honest, nuke is not that great of a map right now, and it's barely played in the competitive scene. So any change is honestly good, and anyone saying that these changes made nuke worse are just being silly. Definitely not true. There's a lot of great changes that came out of this update. One of the great changes is the visibility on outside. It's amazing how easy it is to see models now on the outside. So CT spawn right there, you can easily see the CT. This angle here, that's a headshot angle, are very easy to spot, and vice versa. Before, opping this angle as a CT was a nightmare because of the catwalk. You would see through the catwalk. Some people would be seeing you through the catwalk. You can't see them. And I really like that the catwalk is gone. We'll talk about the heaven jump. You can still get into heaven very easily, but we're removing the catwalk. And people are saying, oh, that helped the terrorists so much. But honestly, there was so many times where a CT would be abusing the catwalk and getting picks from over top of mini, over top of smokes, and really just getting this entry that's untradeable for terrorists. So I actually think without the catwalk there, it's gonna be very nice, very, very nice. There's so much randomness that would happen outside, so many weird angles that the catwalk created. Everything just seems much more calculated and cleaner, and everything just, honestly, the flow is better outside without the catwalk and with some of the other changes that they've made. One thing I said is visibility. They also removed these weird cubbies that were back here where CTs could hide back here and then at any time just peek out. So I actually like that they've just gated this off because these spots are pretty useless. So that's going to help the terrorists for sure, knowing that a CT can't be randomly behind there. So definitely going to help the terrorists. All this really helps. All this visibility is going to help the terrorists because they'll be able to spot the CTs easier. They removed this box here, which used to be a headshot angle, which was kind of annoying to deal with as a terrorist when you'd be fighting someone like this, because only seeing their head over top that box was obviously annoying. Going into outside, they changed the model of the AC unit to a better model. It's more straightforward. You can't headshot the one angle. So that's good. It's still very easy to get into heaven, guys. So if you take outside control as a terrorist, it's basically the same thing as the rafter, except you don't have all these weird fights where CTs can peek over top of mini. The terrorists can walk all the way around without going on the floor at all. So I think everything's a lot more calculated. And I'm going to talk about and transfer that into the upper bomb site, where I think them removing the ladder, before you used to climb a ladder to get into the rafters, I'm glad that's gone, because there was so many times where you can't really figure out where a CT is and where they could rotate. Now it's a much more calculated. So if you spot a guy, you hear a guy on the floor, you know that this floor player can't just instantly be in heaven. Because before, you could just be on the floor, and next second you could be in the heaven. You could never really read the CT setup because there was so much mobility for the CTs. Now you know if a CT is on the floor and there's one in heaven, you can truly account for two CTs. Because you know that this player here, unless he gets boosted into rafters, his rotations are going to have to come through mini. He's going to have to go through vents to reposition. He's going to have to go somewhere else other than just completely disappearing. So I like the idea that the terrorists will be able to account for CT's bodies easier. And I really like that they moved the yellow rafter here further away, because it makes coming through heaven so much nicer. Just to look into this, everything just feels a lot cleaner, as well as coming through mini as a terrorist. Looking into heaven is a lot cleaner of an angle. This is now an angle that used to be an angle in the past. It's back. And going into the hut. So one of the changes that I'm questioning right now is there is no hut window anymore. But before we go into that, let's talk about the Tetris boxes. These three boxes were moved from being all hugging the hut to swung out to the left. And this is definitely going to help CTs for maybe worrying about a mini split where they can create a crossfire with a teammate in the site, but also this does help terrorists control the bomb site once they get in, so after plant for the terrorists. So I kind of like the boxes like this because I think it will help the terrorists. If they hug here, this Heaven will be able to see them, but I think it'll be popular to play like this where Heaven can't see them, Mini can't see them, and it creates a pretty good after plant spot, which is going to help the terrorists defend the site, right? Talking about the hut. So the hut is, the entrance was moved a little bit to the left, so it gives a little bit more room for the CTs to play within the hut. So no hut window, let's talk about that. So this angle is no longer possible to cover Squeaky and hut, as well as a player can't play in mini and no people are coming out hut. So before, sitting in mini here, a player used to sit here and he would basically have Squeaky covered as well as hut covered, so the entire upper bomb site. So now if a player is in mini, yes, it's going to be easier to not worry about a hut window guy picking you, but you won't know. You can't just play one guy here. You won't know if a terrorist is creeping out. You'll have to have more different people dedicated to these choke points because they're no longer connected, is what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to be devil's advocate because I'm not really sure if I like the hut window gone, but I'm trying to think of it in a positive way because CTs will have less information on where the terrorists are walking. Like this guy will no longer be able to see hut bust out until they're already out on the bomb site. So you'll basically need a CT worrying about hut, as well as a guy fully almost dedicated to Squeaky now. And when before, one guy could pretty much watch both. Even a guy could hold here, right? A guy could hold here, and he's watching hut and Squeaky in the past. No longer possible. So I'm interested to see how this plays out. I don't love it, but I don't hate it as well. Let's just go quickly into, just run around here. The Twinkie jump requires a little bit more skill. All you do is you duck jump it. You can't just simply jump it like this. You have to press your duck as you jump to get up on it. So I guess a little bit tougher, but whatever. It doesn't change anything for good players. These skylights, I think they made them a little bit easier for just a random average Joe to just, you know, bang a flash off the wall here. Which I'm all for, making it easier for people to incorporate teamwork. So before you had to have like specific lineups of perfect grenades. I still think all the smokes will be possible, such as smoking off Mini from through here. Smoking off Heaven still works as well. The same one that I used on the other version of Nuke. I don't have my crosshair right now. Actually, this might be really tough. But basically, yeah, the same old Heaven smoke works. So the skylights for me, it's whatever. The same smokes the pros will use will work, but it might help the average Joe just you know, help with a flashbang going into upper. They also moved up spawns for both CTs and terrorists. So CTs spawn around here instead of back here, as well as terrorists are now spawning instead of way back here. They're now spawning closer to this area here. I think the timings are the same. I haven't tested it. I don't think it'll have any effect on who gets where faster. I think they just realized that, hey, like, both teams are running a far distance out of spawn for no real reason. Let's move them both up equally. But the timings could be slightly different. I'm not positive on that. Maybe something that you guys could test out for me. Going into ramp room here, they simply just removed this little box, which I guess you could have headshotted before. Just a headshot only box, so whatever. I like the change. Going into the lower site here, they removed the railings, so now it's a lot easier to check, you know, the emo dark spot, as well as this corner here. It's a lot easier to see as well, so definitely like this change. This is the other change that I'm not sure I like. I feel like this change is going to help the CTs more than the terrorists. I think the lower bomb site was already so hard to retake as a CT that this is going to be even harder now to retake as a CT. But it also helps the CTs defend it It just gives another angle for the terrorists to worry about. So and then it also you can now boost up here, which I don't really mind. This box for me is like just a question mark. Like why is it here? Why did they think they needed to add it? Not sure I like that. Definitely not sure I like that. I think the map for me feels a lot cleaner. Angles feel a lot better for terrorists and CTs. Like this spot used to be a little bit tighter. Now it feels like a spot that you can actually like fight with. It's not so tiny that it's awkward. It actually seems like you can do some nice fighting there. This angle now feels pretty good. I just think things feel a lot more straightforward. Not all these crazy weird angles that someone could peek you from up here. A CT could peek you from up here. Tons of uncalculated positionings people could hide from that it would be impossible to clear for a terrorist. But yeah, I think overall I'm welcoming all the change. I'm interested to see how the hut window plays out. And then these boxes, not really a fan of. Also not really a fan of this random room. Maybe get rid of this room, wall this room off, and then keep the boxes. But I think having both is just kind of weird. But that's it, guys. Have a good one.